John. Originally I was the Word, but the Word I was with Elohim, and Elohim I was the Word. The same was originally with Elohim. All things came into existence by him, and apart from him nothing came into existence that appeared in history. In him was life, and the life was the light of human beings. And the light shines in darkness, but the darkness does not seize upon it. There was a man sent from Elohim, whose name was John. The same came for a witness, to bear witness of the light, that all through him might believe. He was not that light, but was sent to bear witness of that light. He was the true light, that lights everyone that comes into the cosmos. He was in the cosmos, but the cosmos came into existence through him, and the cosmos knew him not. He came to his own, and his own received him not. But as many as received him, to them gave the power to become the sons of Elohim, to them that believe on his name, that were born, not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of Elohim. And the Word appeared in history as flesh, and lived among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. John was a witness of him and cried saying, This was he of whom I spoke, he that comes after me appeared in history before me, because he was before me. And out of his fullness did we all receive, and grace over against grace, because the law was given by Moses, but grace and truth came by Joshua Messiah. No man has seen Elohim at any time, except the only begotten Son, that is in the bosom of a garment, symbolized as the Urim Thummim, of the Father. He, YHWH Elohim, has the divine oracle, symbolized as Messiah, through the Urim Thummim. And this is the record of John, when the Jews ordered priests and Levites from Jerusalem to question him, Who are you? But he confessed, and denied not, but confessed, I am not the Messiah. Then they asked him, What then? Are you Elijah? And he replied, I am not. Are you that prophet? And he answered, No. Then they said to him, Who are you? That we may give an answer to them that sent us. What do you say about yourself? He said, I am the voice of one crying in the uninhabited place, Make straight the way of the Lord, as said the prophet Isaiah. And they that were sent were from the Pharisees. Then they asked him, and said to him, Why do you baptize then if you are not that Messiah, nor Elijah, neither that prophet? John answered them saying, I baptize with water, but there stands one among you, who you know not, he it is, whose coming after me, appeared in history before me, whose shoe strap I am not worthy to untie. These things were done in Bethabara beyond Jordan, where John was baptizing. The next day John sees Joshua coming to him and declares, Behold the Lamb of Elohim, that takes away the sin of the cosmos. This is he of whom I said, After me comes a man that appeared in history before me, because he was before me. And I knew him not, but that he should be made visible to Israel, therefore am I come baptizing with water. And John was a witness saying, I saw the Spirit descending from the sky like a dove, and it abode on him. And I knew him not, but he that sent me to baptize with water, the same said to me, Upon whom you will see the Spirit descending and remaining on him, the same is he that baptizes with the sacred Spirit. And I saw, and witnessed that this is the Son of Elohim. Again the next day after John stood, and two of his disciples, and looking upon Joshua as he walked, he declared, Behold the Lamb of Elohim. And the two disciples heard him speak, and they followed Joshua. Then Joshua turned, and saw them following and said to them, What do you seek? They replied to him, Great One, which is to say, being interpreted, Master, where are you staying? He replied to them, Come and see. They came and saw where he stayed, and remained with him that day, for it was about the 10th hour. One of the two that heard John, and followed him, was Andrew, Simon Peter's brother. He first finds his own brother Simon, and says to him, We have found the Messiah, that is being interpreted, the Messiah, anointed. Then he brought him to Joshua. And when Joshua saw him, he said, You are Simon the son of Jonah, you will be called Cephas, that is by interpretation, a stone. The day following Joshua would go out into Galilee, and finds Philip and says to him, Follow me. Now Philip was of Bethsaida, the city of Andrew and Peter. Philip finds Nathanael, and says to him, we have found him, of whom Moses in the law, and the prophets did write, Joshua of Nazareth, the son of Joseph. And Nathanael said to him, Can there come any good thing out of Nazareth? Philip says to him, Come and see. Joshua saw Nathanael coming to him, and said of him, Behold an Israelite indeed, in whom is no guile. Nathanael said to him, Where did you know me? Joshua answered and said to him, Before that Philip called you, when you were under the fig tree, I saw you. Nathanael answered and said to him, Great One, you are the Son of Elohim, you are the King of Israel. Joshua answered and said to him, Because I said to you, I saw you under the fig tree, do you believe? You will see greater things than these. And he said to him, Truly, truly, I say to you, hereafter you will see the cosmos open, and the angels of Elohim ascending and descending upon the Son of Man. And the third day there was a marriage in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Joshua was there, and both Joshua was called, and his disciples, to the marriage. And when they lacked wine, the mother of Joshua said to him, They have no wine. Joshua replied to her, Woman, what have I to do with you? My hour has not yet come. His mother said to the slaves, Whatever he says to you, do it. And there were set there 6 water jars of stone, after the manner of the purifying of the Jews, containing 20 or 30 gallons apiece. Joshua said to them, Fill the water jars with water. And they filled them up to the brim. Then he said to them, Draw out now, and bring to the table master of the feast. And they brought it. When the table master had tasted the water that was made wine, but did not know from where it came, but the slaves that drew the water knew, winky-faced the table master of the feast called the bridegroom, and said to him, Everyone at the beginning does set out good wine, and when men have well drunk, then what is less quality is given, but you have saved the good wine for last. This beginning of miracles did Joshua in Cana of Galilee, and manifested forth his glory, and his disciples believed on him. After this he went down to Capernaum, he, and his mother, and his brethren, and his disciples, and they continued there for a few days. And the Jews' Passover was at hand, and Joshua went up to Jerusalem, and found in the temple those that sold oxen and sheep and doves, and the brokers of money sitting, and when he had made a scourge of small cords, he drove them all out of the temple, and the sheep, and the oxen, and poured out the brokers' money, and overthrew the tables, and said to them that sold doves, Take these things now. Make not my Father's house a house of merchandise. And his disciples remembered that it was written, The zeal of your house has eaten me up. Then answered the Jews and said to him, What sign can you give us, seeing that you do these things? Joshua answered and said to them, Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up. Then replied the Jews, 46 years was this temple in building, and you will rear it up in 3 days? But he spoke of the temple of his body. When therefore he was resurrected from the dead, his disciples remembered that he had said this to them, and they believed the scripture, and the word that Joshua had said. Now when he was in Jerusalem at the Passover, in the feast day, many believed in his name, when they saw the miracles that he did. And Joshua himself was not trusting himself to them, because of his knowing all men. And needed not that any should testify of man, for he knew what was in man. There was a man of the Pharisees, named Nicodemus, a ruler of the Jews. The same came to Joshua by night and said to him, Great One, we know that you are a teacher come from Elohim, because no man can do these miracles that you do, except Elohim is with him. Joshua answered and said to him, Truly, truly, I say to you, except a man is born again, he cannot see the kingdom of Elohim. Nicodemus replied to him, How can a man be born when he is old? Can he enter the second time into his mother's womb, and be born? Joshua answered, Truly, truly, I say to you, except a man is born of water and of the Spirit, he cannot enter into the kingdom of Elohim. What is born of the flesh is flesh, and what is born of the Spirit is spirit. Marvel not that I said to you, You must be born again. The wind blows where it delights, and you hear the sound of it, but cannot tell from where it comes, and where it goes, so is everyone that is born of the Spirit. Nicodemus answered and said to him, How can these things be? Joshua answered and said to him, Are you a teacher of Israel, and know not these things? Truly, truly I say to you, we speak what we do know, and testify what we have seen, and you receive not our witness. If I have told you earthly things, and you believe not, how will you believe, if I tell you of cosmic things? And no one has ascended up to the cosmos, but he that came down from the cosmos, even the Son of Man that is in the cosmos. And as Moses lifted up the snake in the uninhabited place, even so must the Son of Man be lifted up, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have age-lasting life. Because Elohim so loved the cosmos, that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have age-lasting life. Because Elohim sent not his Son into the cosmos to condemn the cosmos, but that the cosmos through him might be saved. He that believes on him is not condemned, but he that believes not is condemned already, because he has not believed in the name of the only begotten Son of Elohim. And this is the condemnation, that light is come into the cosmos, and human beings loved darkness rather than light, because their deeds were bad. Because everyone that does bad hates the light, neither comes to the light, unless their deeds should be corrected. But he that does truth comes to the light, that his deeds may be made visible, that they are produced in Elohim. After these things Joshua came with his disciples into the land of Judea, and there he stayed with them, and baptized. And John also was baptizing in Aenon near to Salim, because there was much water there, and they came, and were baptized. Because John was not yet cast into prison. Then there arose a question between some of John's disciples and the Jews about ritual cleansing. And they came to John and said to him, Great One, he that was with you beyond Jordan, to who you give witness, behold, the same baptizes and all come to him. John answered and said, A man can receive nothing, except it is given to him from the cosmos. You yourselves bear me witness that I said, I am not the Messiah, but that I am sent before him. He that has the bride is the bridegroom, but the friend of the bridegroom, that stands and hears him, rejoices greatly because of the bridegroom's voice. This my joy therefore is fulfilled. He must increase, but I must decrease. He that comes from above is above all, he that is of the earth is earthly, and speaks from the earth, he that comes from the cosmos is above all. And what he has seen and heard, that he testifies, and no man receives his testimony. He that has received his testimony has set to his seal that Elohim is true. Because he who Elohim has sent speaks the words of Elohim, for Elohim gives not the Spirit by measure to him. The Father dearly loves the Son, and has given all things into his hand. He that believes on the Son has age-lasting life, and he that believes not the Son will not see life, but the anger of Elohim remains on him. When therefore the Lord knew how the Pharisees had heard that Joshua made and baptized more disciples than John, though Joshua himself baptized not, but his disciples, he left Judea, and departed again into Galilee. And he must needs go through Samaria. Then he came to a city of Samaria, that is called Sychar, near to the parcel of ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. Now Jacob's well was there. Joshua therefore, being tired from his journey, sat down on the well, and it was about the 6th hour. Then came a woman of Samaria to draw water. Joshua said to her, Give me to drink. Because his disciples were gone away into the city to buy food. Then replied the woman of Samaria to him, How is it that you, being a Jew, ask a drink from me that am a woman of Samaria? Because the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans. Joshua answered and said to her, If you knew the gift of Elohim, and who it is that says to you, Give me to drink, you would have asked of him, and he would have given you living water. The woman replied to him, Sir, you have nothing to draw with, and the well is deep, from where then have you this living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob, that gave us the well, and drank from it himself, and his children, and his cattle? Joshua answered and said to her, Whoever drinks of this water will thirst again, but whoever drinks of the water that I will give him will never thirst, but the water that I will give him will be in him a spring of water springing up into age-lasting life. The woman replied to him, Sir, give me this water, that I thirst not, neither come here to draw. Joshua said to her, Go, call your husband and come here. The woman answered and said, I have no husband. Joshua said to her, You have well said, I have no husband, because you have had 5 husbands, and he who you now have is not your husband, in what you truly said. The woman replied to him, Sir, I perceive that you are a prophet. Our fathers worshipped in this mountain, and you say, that in Jerusalem is the place where men should do homage. Joshua replied to her, Woman, believe me, the hour comes, when you will neither in this mountain, nor yet at Jerusalem, worship the Father. You do homage to what you know not, we know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. But the hour comes, and now is, when the true worshippers will do homage to the Father in spirit and in truth, because the Father seeks such to worship him. Elohim is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. The woman replied to him, I know that Messiah comes, that is called Messiah. When he has come, he will announce to us all things. Joshua replied to her, I that speak to you am he. And upon this came his disciples, and wondered why he talked with the woman, yet no man said, What seek you? Or, Why do you talk with her? The woman then left her water jar, and went her way into the city, and said to the men, Come, see a man that told me all things that I ever did, is not this the Messiah, anointed? Then they went out of the city, and came to him. In the meantime his disciples entreated him saying, Great one, eat. But he replied to them, I have food to eat that you know not of. Therefore replied the disciples one to another, Has anyone brought him something to eat? Joshua replied to them, My food is to do the will of him that sent me, and to finish his work. Do you not say, There are still 4 months, and then comes the harvest? Look, I say to you, lift up your eyes, and look on the fields, for they are white already to harvest. And he that reaps receives wages, and gathers fruit to life age lasting, that both he that sows and he that reaps may rejoice together. For here the saying is holding true, one sows and another reaps. I sent you to reap that on which you bestowed no labor, other men labored, and you are entered into their labors. And many of the Samaritans from that city believed on him for the saying of the woman, that testified, He told me all that I ever did. So when the Samaritans were come to him, they requested him that he would stay with them, and he stayed there 2 days. And many more believed because of his own word, and said to the woman, Now we believe, not because of your saying, because we have now heard him ourselves, and know that this is indeed the Messiah, the Savior of the cosmos. Now after 2 days he left from there, and went into Galilee. Because Joshua himself testified, that a prophet has no honor in his own country. Then when he had come into Galilee, the Galileans received him, having seen all the things that he did at Jerusalem at the festival, because they also went to the festival. So Joshua came again into Cana of Galilee, where he made the water wine. And there was a certain nobleman, whose son was sick at Capernaum. When he heard that Joshua had come out of Judea into Galilee, he went to him, and besought him that he would come down, and heal his son, for he was at the point of death. Then said Joshua to him, Except you see signs and miracles, you will not believe. The nobleman replied to him, Sir, come down before my child dies. Joshua replied to him, Go your way, your son lives. And the man believed the word that Joshua had spoken to him, and he went his way. And as he was now going down, his slaves met him, and told him saying, Your son lives. Then he inquired of them the hour when he began to feel better. And they said to him, Yesterday at the 7th hour the fever left him. So the dad knew that it was at the same hour, in which Joshua said to him, Your son lives, and himself believed, and his whole house. This is again the second miracle that Joshua did, when he had come out of Judea into Galilee. After this there was a feast day of the Jews, and Joshua went up to Jerusalem. Now there is at Jerusalem by the sheep market a pool, that is called in the Hebrew tongue Bethesda, having 5 porticos. In these lay a large crowd of feeble people, blind, lame, and withered, waiting for the moving of the water. Because an angel went down at a certain season into the pool, and stirred the water, whoever then first after the stirring of the water stepped in was made whole of whatever disease he had. And there was a certain man there being in ailment 38 years, when Joshua saw him recline, and knew he had been a long time now in that condition, he said to him, Will you be made whole? The infirm man answered him, Sir, I have no man, when the water is stirred, to put me into the pool, but while I am coming, another steps down before me. Joshua said to him, Rise, take up your bed, and walk. And immediately the man was made whole, and took up his bed and walked, and on the same day it was the Sabbath. The Jews therefore said to him that was cured, It is the Sabbath day, it is not lawful for you to carry your bed. He answered them, He that made me whole, the same said to me, Take up your bed and walk. Then they asked him, What man is that who said to you, Take up your bed and walk? And he that was healed did not know who it was, because Joshua had slipped himself away as a crowd was forming in that place. Afterward Joshua finds him in the temple, and said to him, Look, you are made whole, sin no more unless a worse thing comes to you. The man departed, and told the Jews that it was Joshua that had made him whole. And because of this the Jews were persecuting Joshua, and seeking to kill him, because these things he was doing were on a Sabbath. But Joshua answered them, My father works until now, and I work. Therefore the Jews sought the more to kill him, because he not only had broken the Sabbath, but said also that Elohim was his father, making himself equal with Elohim. Then Joshua answered and said to them, Truly, truly, I say to you, the Son can do nothing of himself, but what he sees the Father do, because whatever things he does, these also do the Son likewise. Because the Father approves the Son, and shows him all things that he himself does, and he will show him greater works than these, that you may marvel. Because as the Father raises up the dead, and restores to life, even so the Son restores to life who he wills. Because the Father judges no man, but has committed all judgment to the Son, that all should honor the Son, even as they honor the Father. He that honors not the Son honors not the Father that has sent him. Truly, truly, I say to you, he that hears my word, and believes on him that sent me, has age-lasting life, and will not come into condemnation, but is passed from death to life. Truly, truly, I say to you, the hour is coming, and now is, when the dead will hear the voice of the Son of Elohim, and they that hear will live. Because as the Father has life in himself, so has he given to the Son to have life in himself, and has given him authority to execute judgment also, because he is the Son of Man. Wonder not at this, for the hour is coming, in which all that are in the tomb will hear his voice, and will come forth, they that have done good, to the resurrection of life, and they that have done worthlessly, to the resurrection of judgment. I can of my own self do nothing, as I hear, I judge, and my judgment is righteous, because I seek not my own will, but the will of the Father that has sent me. If I bear witness of myself, my witness is not true. There is another that bears witness of me, and I know that the witness that he witnesses of me is true. You sent to John, and he witnessed to the truth. But I received not testimony from man, but these things I say, that you might be saved. He was a burning and a shining light, and you were willing for a season to rejoice in his light. But I have a greater witness than that of John, because the works that the Father has given me to finish, the same works that I do, bear witness of me, that the Father has sent me. And the Father himself, that has sent me, has borne witness of me. You have neither heard his voice at any time, nor seen his form. And you have not his word living in you, because who he has sent, him you did not believe. Search the Scriptures, because you think in them you have age-lasting life, and they are what witness of me. And you will not come to me, that you might have life. I receive not honor from men. But I know you, that you have not the love of Elohim in you. I am come in my Father's name, and you receive me not, if another will come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe, that receive honor one of another, and seek not the honor that comes from Elohim only? Do not think that I will accuse you to the Father, there is one that accuses you, even Moses, in who you trust. For had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, because he wrote of me. But if you believe not his writings, how will you believe my words? After these things Joshua went over the Sea of Galilee, namely the Sea of Tiberias. And a large crowd followed him, because they saw his miracles that he did on them that were diseased. And Joshua went up into a mountain, and there he sat with his disciples. And the Passover, a feast day of the Jews, was near. When Joshua then lifted up his eyes, and saw a great company come to him, he said to Philip, Where will we buy bread, so that these may eat? And this he said to test him, for he himself knew what he would do. Philip answered him, 200 denarii of bread, 8 months' wages, is not enough for them, that every one of them may take a little. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said to him, There is a lad here, that has 5 barley loaves, and 2 small fish, but what are they among so many? Then Joshua said, Make the men sit down. Now there was much grass in the field. So the men sat down, in number about 5,000. And Joshua took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed to the disciples, and the disciples to them that were set down, and likewise of the fish as much as they would. When they were filled, he said to his disciples, Gather up the fragments that remain, that nothing is lost. Therefore they gathered it together, and filled 12 baskets with the fragments of the 5 barley loaves, that remained over and above to them that had eaten. Then those men, when they had seen the miracle that Joshua did, said, This is of a truth that prophet that should come into the cosmos. When Joshua therefore perceived that they would come and take him by force, to make him a king, he departed again into a mountain himself alone. And when sunset had now come, his disciples went down to the sea, and entered into a ship, and went over the sea towards Capernaum. And it was now dark, and Joshua was not come to them. And the sea stirred by reason of a great wind that blew. So when they had rowed about 3 or 4 miles, they saw Joshua walking on the sea, and drawing near to the ship, and they were terrified. But he said to them, It is I, be not terrified. Then they willingly received him into the ship, and immediately the ship was at the land where they went. The following day, when the people that stood on the other side of the sea saw that there were no other boats there, except that one in which his disciples had entered, and that Joshua went not with his disciples into the boat, but that his disciples had gone away alone. Then some other boats came from Tiberias near to the place where they had eaten bread, after that the Lord had given thanks. When the people therefore saw that Joshua was not there, neither his disciples, they also took boats, and came to Capernaum, seeking for Joshua. And when they had found him on the other side of the sea, they said to him, Great one, when did you come here? Joshua answered them and said, Truly, truly, I say to you, you seek me, not because you saw the miracles, but because you did eat of the loaves, and were filled. Labor not for the food that perishes, but for that food that endures unto age-lasting life, that the Son of Man will give to you, for him has Elohim the Father sealed. Then they said to him, What will we do, that we might work the works of Elohim? Joshua answered and said to them, This is the work of Elohim, that you believe on him who he has sent. They said therefore to him, What sign will you show then, that we may see and believe you? What do you work? Our fathers did eat manna in the uninhabited places, as it is written, He gave them bread from the cosmos to eat. Then Joshua said to them, Truly, truly, I say to you, Moses gave you not that bread from the cosmos, but my Father gives you the true bread from the cosmos. Because the bread of Elohim is he that comes down from the cosmos, and gives life to the cosmos. Then they said to him, Lord, always give us this bread. Joshua replied to them, I am the bread of life, he that comes to me will never hunger, and he that believes on me will never thirst. But I said to you that you also have seen me, and believe not. All that the Father gives me will come to me, and him that comes to me I will never cast out. Because I came down from the cosmos, not to do my own will, but the will of him that sent me. And this is the Father's will that has sent me, that of all that he has given me I should render useless none, but should resurrect them up again at the last day. And this is the will of him that sent me, that everyone that sees the Son, and believes on him, may have age-lasting life, and I will resurrect them up at the last day. The Jews then murmured at him, because he said, I am the bread that came down from the cosmos. And they said, Is not this Joshua, the son of Joseph, whose father and mother we know? How is it then that he says, I came down from the cosmos? Joshua therefore answered and said to them, Murmur not among yourselves. No man can come to me, except the Father that has sent me draw him, and I will resurrect him up at the last day. It is written in the prophets, and they will be all taught of Elohim. Everyone therefore that has heard, and has learned of the Father, comes to me. Not that anyone has seen the Father, except he that is from Elohim, he has seen the Father. Truly, truly, I say to you, he that believes on me has age-lasting life. I am that bread of life. Your fathers did eat manna in the uninhabited places, and are dead. This is the bread that comes down from the cosmos, that a man may eat of it and not die. I am the living bread that came down from the cosmos. If anyone eats of this bread, he will live for the ages, and the bread that I will give is my flesh, that I will give for the life of the cosmos. The Jews therefore fought among themselves saying, How can this man give us his flesh to eat? Then Joshua said to them, Truly, truly, I say to you, except you eat the flesh of the Son of Man, and drink his blood, you have no life in you. Whoever eats my flesh, and drinks my blood, has age-lasting life, and I will resurrect him up at the last day. Because my flesh is food indeed, and my blood is drink indeed. He that eats my flesh, and drinks my blood, lives in me, and I in him. As the living Father has sent me, and I live by the Father, so he that eats of me, even he will live by me. This is that bread that came down from the cosmos, not as your fathers did eat manna, and are dead. He that eats of this bread will live for the ages. These things he said in the synagogue, as he taught in Capernaum. Many therefore of his disciples, when they had heard this said, This is a hard saying, who can hear it? When Joshua knew in himself that his disciples murmured at it, he said to them, Does this offend you? What and if you will see the Son of Man ascend up where he was before? It is the Spirit that restores to life, the flesh profits nothing. The words that I speak to you, they are spirit, and they are life. But there are some of you that believe not. Because Joshua knew from the beginning who they were that believed not, and who should betray him. And he said, Therefore I say to you, that no man can come to me, except it were given to him from my Father. From that time many of his disciples went back, and walked no more with him. Then Joshua said to the 12, Will you also go away? Then Simon Peter answered him, Lord, to whom will we go? You have the words of age-lasting life. And we believe and are sure that you are that Messiah, the Son of the living Elohim. Joshua answered them, Have I not chosen you 12, and one of you is a false accuser? He spoke of Judas Iscariot the son of Simon, for he it was that should betray him, being one of the 12. After these things Joshua walked in Galilee, for he would not walk in Judea, because the Jews sought to kill him. Now the Jews' feast of tabernacles was at hand. His brethren therefore said to him, Leave from here, and go into Judea, that your disciples also may see the works that you do. For no one in secret does anything, and himself seeks to be in public. If you do these things, manifest yourself to the cosmos. Because neither did his brethren believe in him. Joshua, therefore said to them, My time is not yet present, but your time is always ready. The cosmos cannot hate you, but me it hates, because I testify of it, that the works thereof are bad. Go yourself up to this festival. I go not up yet to this festival, because my time is not yet fully come. When he had said these words to them, he stayed in Galilee. But when his brethren were gone up, then he went up also to the festival, not openly, but as it were in secret. Then the Jews sought him at the feast day, and said, Where is he? And there was much murmuring among the people concerning him, for some said, He is a good man, others said, No, but he deceives the people. But no one spoke openly of him for fear of the Jews. Now about the middle of the feast day Joshua went up into the temple, and taught. And the Jews wondered saying, How did this man get this learning, having never been educated? Joshua answered them and said, My doctrine is not mine, but his that sent me. If anyone will do his will, he will know of the doctrine, whether it is from Elohim, or whether I speak of myself. He that speaks of himself seeks his own glory, but he that seeks his glory that sent him, the same is true, and no unrighteousness is in him. Did not Moses give you the law, and still none of you keep the law? Why go you about to kill me? The people answered and said, You have a demon, who goes about to kill you? Joshua answered and said to them, I have done one work, and you all marvel. Moses therefore gave to you circumcision, not because it is from Moses, but from the Father's winky face, and you on the Sabbath day circumcise a man. If a man on the Sabbath day receives circumcision, that the Torah of Moses should not be broken, are you angry at me, because I have made a man completely whole on the Sabbath day? Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Then said some of them from Jerusalem, Is not this he, who they seek to kill? But, lo, he speaks boldly, and they say nothing to him. Do the rulers know indeed that this is the very Messiah? But we know this man from where he is, but when Messiah comes, no man knows from where he is. Then cried Joshua in the temple as he taught, saying, You both know me, and you know from where I am, and I am not come of myself, but he that sent me is true, who you know not. But I know him because I am from him, and he has sent me. Then they sought to take him, but no man laid hands on him, because his hour was not yet come. And many of the people believed on him and said, When Messiah comes, will he do more miracles than these that this man has done? The Pharisees heard that the people murmured such things concerning him, and the Pharisees and the chief priests sent officers to take him. Then Joshua said to them, Still a little while am I with you, and then I go to him that sent me. You will seek me, and will not find me, and where I am, there you cannot come. Then said the Jews among themselves, Where will he go, that we will not find him? Will he go to the dispersed among the Gentiles, and teach the Gentiles? What saying is this that he says, You will seek me, and will not find me, and where I am, there you cannot come? On the last day, that great day of the feast, Joshua stood and cried, saying, If anyone thirsts, let him come to me and drink. He that believes on me, as the Scripture has said, out of his belly will flow rivers of living water. But this he spoke of the Spirit, that they that believe on him should receive, because the sacred Spirit was not yet given, because Joshua was not yet glorified. Many of the people therefore, when they heard this saying, said, Of a truth this is the prophet. Others said, This is the Messiah, but some said, Will Messiah come out of Galilee? Has not the Scripture said that Messiah comes from the seed of David, and out of the town of Bethlehem, where David was? So there was a division among the people because of him. And some of them would have taken him, but no man laid hands on him. Then came the officers to the chief priests and Pharisees, and they said to them, Why have you not brought him? The officers answered, Never has a man spoken like this man. Then the Pharisees answered them, Are you also deceived? Have any of the rulers or of the Pharisees believed on him? But this people who know not the law are cursed. Nicodemus said to them, He that came to Joshua by night, being one of them, does our law judge anyone, before it hears him, and knows what he does? They answered and said to him, Are you also of Galilee? Search, and look, for out of Galilee arises no prophet. And everyone went to his own house. Joshua went to the Mount of Olives. And early in the morning he came again into the temple, and all the people came to him, and he sat down, and taught them. And the scribes and Pharisees brought to him a woman taken in adultery, and when they had set her in the middle, they say to him, Teacher, this woman was taken in adultery, in the very act. Now Moses in the law commanded us, that such should be stoned, but what do you say? This they said, testing him, that they might have something to accuse him of. But Joshua stooped down, and with his finger wrote on the ground. So when they continued asking him, he lifted up himself, and said to them, He that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her. And again he stooped down, and wrote on the ground. And they which heard this, being convicted by their own conscience, went out one by one, beginning at the eldest, even to the last, and Joshua was left alone, and the woman standing in the middle. When Joshua had lifted up himself, and saw none but the woman, he said to her, Woman, where are those your accusers? Has no one condemned you? She replied, No one, Lord. And Joshua said to her, Neither do I condemn you, go, and sin no more. Then spoke Joshua again to them, saying, I am the light of the cosmos, they that follow me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. The Pharisees therefore said to him, You bear record of yourself, your record is not true. Joshua answered and said to them, Though I bear record of myself, still my record is true, because I know from where I came, and where I go, but you cannot tell from where I come, and where I go. You judge after the flesh, I judge no one. And still if I judge, my judgment is true, because I am not alone, but I and the Father that sent me. It is also written in your law, that the testimony of two human beings is true. I am one that bear witness of myself, and the Father that sent me bears witness of me. Then they said to him, Where is your father? Joshua answered, You neither know me, nor my father. If you had known me, you should have known my father too. These words spoke Joshua in the treasury, as he taught in the temple, and no one laid hands on him, for his hour was not yet come. Then Joshua again said to them, I go my way, and you will seek me, and will die in your sins. Where I go, you cannot come. Then the Jews replied, Will he kill himself? Because he says, Where I go, you cannot come. And he said to them, You are from beneath, I am from above, you are of this cosmos, and I am not from this cosmos. I said therefore to you, that you will die in your sins, because if you believe not that I am, you will die in your sins. Then they replied to him, Who are you? And Joshua replied to them, Even the same that I said to you from the beginning. I have many things to say and to judge of you, but he that sent me is true, and I speak to the cosmos those things that I have heard from him. They understood not that he spoke to them of the Father. Then Joshua said to them, When you have lifted up the Son of Man, then will you know that I am, and I do nothing of myself, but as my Father has taught me, I speak these things. And he that sent me is with me, the Father has not left me alone, for I do always those things that please him. As he spoke these words, many believed on him. Then Joshua said to those Jews that believed on him, If you continue in my word, then you are my disciples indeed, and you will know the truth, and the truth will make you free. They answered him, We are Abraham's seed, and were never in bondage to anyone. How come you say, You will be made freeborn? Joshua answered them, Truly, truly, I say to you, whoever commits sin is the slave of sin. And the slave lives not in the house for the ages, but the Son lives for the ages. If the Son therefore will make you free, you will be freeborn indeed. I know that you are Abraham's seed, but you seek to kill me, because my word has no place in you. I speak what I have seen with my father, and you do what you have seen with your father. They answered and said to him, Abraham is our father. Joshua replied to them, If you were Abraham's children, you would do the works of Abraham. But now you seek to kill me, a man that has told you the truth, that I have heard from Elohim. Such things Abraham did not do. You do the deeds of your father. Then they said to him, We are not born of adultery, we have one Father, Elohim. Joshua replied to them, If Elohim were your father, you would love me, because I proceeded out and came from Elohim, neither came I from myself, but he sent me. Why do you not understand my speech? Even because you cannot hear my word. You are of your father the false accuser, and the lusts of your father you will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and stood not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaks a lie, he speaks of his own, because he is a liar, and the father of lies. And because I tell the truth, you believe me not. Which of you convicts me of sin? And if I say the truth, why do you not believe me? He that is from Elohim hears Elohim's words, you therefore hear them not, because you are not from Elohim. Then answered the Jews, and said to him, Say we not well that you are a Samaritan, and have a demon? Joshua answered, I have not a demon, but I honor my Father, and you do dishonor me. And I seek not mine own glory, there is one that seeks to find and separates. Truly, truly, I say to you, if one guards my saying, they will never see death. Then replied the Jews to him, Now we know that you have a demon. Abraham is dead, and the prophets, and you say, If one guards my saying, they will never taste of death. Are you greater than our father Abraham that is dead? And the prophets are dead, who do you make yourself as? Joshua answered, If I honor myself, my honor is nothing, it is my Father that honors me, of whom you say, that he is your Elohim, still you have not known him, but I know him, and if I should say, I know him not, I will be a liar like you, but I know him, and guard his sayings. Your father Abraham rejoiced to see my day, and he saw it, and was glad. Then the Jews replied to him, You are not yet 50 years old, and have you seen Abraham? Joshua replied to them, Truly, truly, I say to you, before Abraham existed, I am. Then they took up stones to throw at him, but Joshua hid himself, and went out of the temple, going through the middle of them, and so disappeared. And as Joshua passed by, he saw a man that was blind from his birth. And his disciples asked him saying, Great One, who did sin, this human being, or his parents, that he was born blind? Joshua answered, Neither has this human being sinned, nor his parents, but that the works of Elohim should be made visible in him. I must work the works of him that sent me, while it is day. The night comes, when no man can labor. As long as I am in the cosmos, I am the light of the cosmos. When he had so spoken, he spit on the ground, and made clay of the spittle, and he anointed the eyes of the blind man with the clay, and said to him, Go, wash in the pool of Siloam, which is by interpretation, sent. He went his way therefore, and washed, and came seeing. The neighbors therefore, and they that before had seen him that he was blind said, Is not this he that sat and begged? Some said, This is he, others said, He is like him, but he said, I am he. Then they said to him, How were your eyes opened? He answered and said, A man that is called Joshua made clay, and anointed my eyes and said to me, Go to the pool of Siloam, and wash, and I went and washed, and I received sight. Then they said to him, Where is he? He replied, I do not know. They brought to the Pharisees him that had formerly been blind. And it was the Sabbath day when Joshua made the clay, and opened his eyes. Then again the Pharisees also asked him how he had received his sight. He said to them, He put clay on my eyes, and I washed and do see. Therefore said some of the Pharisees, This man is not from Elohim, because he keeps not the Sabbath day. Others said, How could a man that is a sinner do such miracles? And there was a division among them. They say to the blind man again, What do you say of him who has opened your eyes? He replied, He is a prophet. But the Jews did not believe concerning him, that he had been blind, and received his sight, until they called the parents of him that had received his sight. And they asked them saying, Is this your son, who you say was born blind? How then does he now see? His parents answered them and said, We know that this is our son, and that he was born blind, but by what means he now sees, we do not know, or who has opened his eyes, we do not know. He is of age, ask him, he will speak for himself. These words spoke his parents, because they feared the Jews, because the Jews had agreed already, that if anyone did confess that he was Messiah, they should be put out of the synagogue. That is why his parents said, He is of age, ask him. Then again they called the man that was blind and said to him, Give Elohim the praise, we know that this man is a sinner. He answered and said, Whether he is a sinner or not, I do not know. One thing I know, that before I was blind but now I see. Then said they to him again, What did he do to you? How did he open your eyes? He answered them, I have told you already but you did not listen, now would like to hear it again. Will you also be his disciples? Then they heaped abuse on him and said, You are his disciple, but we are Moses' disciples. We know that Elohim spoke to Moses, as for this fellow, we do not know where he comes from. The man answered and said to them, Why, in this is a wonderful thing, that you have not known from where he is, and he opened my eyes. Now we know that Elohim does not hear sinners, but if anyone is a worshipper of Elohim, and does his will, him he hears. Since the ages began was it not heard of that anyone opened the eyes of one that was born blind? If this man were not from Elohim, he could do nothing. They answered and said to him, You were altogether born in sins, and do you teach us? And they cast him out. Joshua heard that they had cast him out, and when he had found him, he said to him, Do you believe on the Son of Elohim? He answered and said, Who is he, Lord, that I might believe on him? Joshua replied to him, You have both seen him, and it is he that talks to you. And he replied, Lord, I believe. And he worshipped him. Joshua said, For judgment I to this cosmos did come, that those not seeing may see, and those seeing may become blind. And some of the Pharisees that were with him heard these words, and said to him, Are we blind too? Joshua replied to them, If you were blind, you should have no sin, but now you say, We see, therefore your sin remains. Truly, truly, I say to you, he that does not enter by the door into the sheepfold, but climbs up some other way, the same is a thief and a robber. But he that enters in by means of an open door, Urim Thummim, is the shepherd of the sheep. To him the male janitor opens, and the sheep hear his voice, and he calls his own sheep by name, and leads them out. And when he puts out his own sheep, he goes before them, and the sheep follow him, for they know his voice. And a foreigner will they not follow, but will flee from him, because they know not the voice of foreigners. This parable spoke Joshua to them, but they understood not what things they were that he spoke to them of. Then Joshua said to them again, Truly, truly, I say to you, I am the open door, Urim Thummim, of the sheep. All that ever came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them. I am the open door, Urim Thummim, by me if anyone enters in, they will be saved, and will go in and out, and find pasture. The thief comes not, but for to steal and to kill, and to destroy. I am come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly. I am the good shepherd gives his life for the sheep. The one hired, however, who also is not a shepherd, nor has the property of the sheep, sees the wolf coming and leaves in flight, away from the sheep, and the wolf comes down on them and scatters them in all directions. The one hired flees, because he is only one hired, and is under no concern for the sheep. I am the good shepherd, and know my sheep, and am known of mine. As the Father knows me, even so I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. And other sheep I have, that are not of this fold, them also I must bring, and they will hear my voice, and there will be one fold, and one shepherd. Therefore does my Father love me, because I lay down my life, that I might take it again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of myself. I have power to lay it down, and I have power to take it again. This commandment I have received from my Father. There was a division therefore again among the Jews for these sayings. And many of them said, He has a demon and is mad, why do you hear him? Others said, These are not the words of him that has a demon. Can a demon open the eyes of the blind? And it was at Jerusalem, the feast of the dedication, and it was winter. And Joshua walked in the temple in Solomon's porch. Then came the Jews around him and said to him, How long do you make us to doubt? If you are the Messiah, tell us plainly. Joshua answered them, I told you, and you believed not. The works that I do in my Father's name, they bear witness of me. But you believe not, because you are not of my sheep, as I said to you. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me, and I give to them age-lasting life, and they will never perish, neither will anyone pluck them out of my hand. My Father that gave them to me is greater than all, and no one is able to pluck them out of my Father's hand. I and my Father are one. Then the Jews took up stones again to stone him. Joshua answered them, Many good works have I showed you from my Father, for which of those works do you stone me? The Jews answered him saying, For a good work we do not stone you, but for blasphemy, and because you, being a man, make yourself Elohim. Joshua answered them, Is it not written in your law, I said, You are Elohim? If he called them Elohim, to who the word of Elohim came, and the scripture cannot be broken, say you of him, who the Father has consecrated and sent into the cosmos, you blaspheme, because I said, I am the Son of Elohim? If I do not the works of my Father, believe me not. But if I do, though you do not believe me, believe the works, that you may know and believe, that the Father is in me, and I in him. Therefore they sought again to take him, but he escaped out of their hand, and went away again beyond Jordan into the place where John at first baptized, and there he stayed. And many came to him and said, John did no miracle, but all things that John spoke of this man were true. And many believed on him there. Now a certain man was sick, named Lazarus, of Bethany, the town of Mary and her sister Martha. It was that Mary that anointed the Lord with ointment, and wiped his feet with her hair, whose brother Lazarus was sick. Therefore his sisters sent to him saying, Lord, behold, he who you befriended is sick. When Joshua heard that, he said, This sickness is not to death, but for the glory of Elohim, that the Son of Elohim might be glorified thereby. Now Joshua dearly loved Martha, and her sister, and Lazarus. When he had heard therefore that he was sick, he stayed 2 days longer in the same place where he was. Then after that he said to his disciples, let us go into Judea again. His disciples replied to him, Great One, the Jews of late sought to stone you, and you go there again? Joshua answered, Are there not 12 hours in the day? If anyone walks in the day, he does not stumble, because he sees the light of this world. But if a man walks in the night, he stumbles, because there is no light for him. These things he said, and after that he said to them, Our friend Lazarus sleeps, but I go, that I may awake him out of sleep. Then his disciples replied, Lord, if he sleeps, he will be safe. But Joshua spoke of his death, but they thought that he had spoken of taking of rest in sleep. Then Joshua said to them plainly, Lazarus is dead. And I am glad for your sakes that I was not there, to the intent you may believe, nevertheless let us go to him. Then said Thomas, that is called Didymus, to his fellow disciples, Let us also go, that we may die with him. Then when Joshua came, he found that he had lain in the tomb 4 days already. Now Bethany was near to Jerusalem, about 2 miles off. And many of the Jews came to Martha and Mary, to comfort them concerning their brother. Then Martha, as soon as she heard that Joshua was coming, went and met him, but Mary still sat in the house. Then Martha said to Joshua, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But I know, that even now, whatever you will ask of Elohim, Elohim will give it to you. Joshua replied to her, Your brother will rise again. Martha replied to him, I know that he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day. Joshua said to her, I am the resurrection and the life, he that believes in me, though he were dead, yet will he live, and whoever lives and believes in me will not die. Do you believe this? She replied to him, Yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of Elohim that should come into the cosmos. And when she had so said, she went her way, and called Mary her sister secretly saying, The teacher has come, and calls for you. As soon as she heard that, she got up quickly and came to him. Now Joshua had not yet come into the town, but was in that place where Martha met him. The Jews then that were with her in the house and comforted her, when they saw Mary, that she got up quickly and went out, followed her saying, She goes to the grave to weep there. Then when Mary was come where Joshua was and saw him, she fell down at his feet, saying to him, Lord, if you had been here my brother would not have died. When Joshua therefore saw her weeping, and the Jews also weeping that came with her, he groaned in the spirit and was troubled. He asked, Where have you laid him? They said to him, Lord, come and see. Joshua wept. Then the Jews said, See how he befriended him. And some of them said, Could not this man, that opened the eyes of the blind, have caused that even this man should not have died? Joshua therefore again groaning in himself came to the tomb. It was a cave and a stone lay on it. Joshua told them, Take away the stone. Martha, the sister of him that was dead, said to him, Lord, by this time he smells of a decaying corpse, because he has been dead 4 days. Joshua replied to her, Did not I say to you that if you would believe, you should see the glory of Elohim? Then they took away the stone from the place where the dead man was laid. And Joshua lifted up his eyes and said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. And I knew that you hear me always, but because of the people that stand by I said it, that they may believe that you have sent me. And when he thus had spoken, he cried with a loud voice, Lazarus come out. And he that was dead came out, bound hand and foot with grave clothes, and his face was bound about with a napkin. Joshua said to them, Unwrap him and let him go. Then many of the Jews that came to Mary, and had seen the things that Joshua did, believed on him. But some of them went their ways to the Pharisees, and told them what things Joshua had done. Then gathered the chief priests and the Pharisees a council and said, What will we do? Because this man does many miracles. If we leave him alone, all will believe on him, and the Romans will come and take away both our city and nation. And one of them, named Caiaphas, being the high priest that same year, said to them, You know nothing at all, nor consider that it is expedient for us, that one man should die for the people, and that the whole nation should not perish. And this spoke he not of himself, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that Joshua should die for that nation, and not for that nation only, but that also he should gather together in one the children of Elohim that were scattered abroad. Then from that day forward they took counsel together to put him to death. Joshua therefore walked no more openly among the Jews, but went away to a region near to the uninhabited places, into a city called Ephraim, and there continued with his disciples. And the Jews' Passover was near at hand, and many went out of the country up to Jerusalem before the Passover, to cleanse themselves. Then sought they for Joshua, and spoke among themselves, as they stood in the temple, What do you think, will he or will he not come to the feast? Now both the chief priests and the Pharisees had given a commandment, that, if anyone knew where he was, he should show them, that they might take him. Then Joshua, 6 days before the Passover, came to Bethany, where Lazarus was that had been dead, who he resurrected, physically, from the dead. There they made him a supper, and Martha served, and Lazarus was one of them that sat at the table with him. Then Mary took a pound of ointment of spikenard, very costly, and anointed the feet of Joshua, and wiped his feet with her hair, and the house was filled with the odor of the ointment. Then one of his disciples, Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, that should betray him said, Why was not this ointment sold for 300 denarius, and given to the poor? This he said, not that he cared for the poor, but because he was a thief, and had the bag, and carried what was put in it. Then Joshua replied, Let her alone, against the day of my burying has she kept this. Because the poor you always have with you, but me you do not always have. Many people of the Jews therefore knew that he was there, and they came and not for Joshua's sake only, but that they might see Lazarus also, who he had resurrected, physically, from the dead. But the chief priests consulted that they might put Lazarus to death too, because that by reason of him many of the Jews went away, and believed on Joshua. On the next day many people were come to the feast. When they heard that Joshua was coming to Jerusalem, they took branches of palm trees, and went out to meet him, and cried, Hosanna, blessed is the King of Israel that comes in the name of the Lord. And Joshua, when he had found a young donkey, sat on it, as it is written, Fear not, daughter of Zion, lo, your king comes, sitting on a donkey. These things the disciples did not understand at first, but when Joshua was glorified, then they remembered that these things were written of him, and that they had done these things to him. The people therefore that were with him when he called Lazarus out of his tomb, and resurrected him from the dead, were witnesses. For this cause the people also met him, because they heard that he had done this miracle. The Pharisees therefore said among themselves, You see that you do not gain anything, lo, the world did go after him. And there were some Greeks among them that came up to worship at the feast day. The same came therefore to Philip, that was of Bethsaida of Galilee, and desired him saying, Sir, we would see Joshua. Philip comes and tells Andrew, and again Andrew and Philip tell Joshua. Joshua answered them saying, The hour is come, that the Son of Man should be glorified. Truly, truly, I say to you, except a corn of wheat fall into the ground and die, it remains alone, but if it dies, it brings forth much fruit. He that loves his life will lose it, and he that hates his life in this cosmos will keep it to life age-lasting. If anyone serves me, let him follow me, and where I am, there will also my slave be, if anyone serves me, him will my Father honor. Now is my life troubled, and what will I say? Father, save me from this hour, but for this cause came I to this hour. Father, glorify your name. Then there came a voice from the cosmos saying, I have both glorified you, and will glorify you again. The people therefore, that stood by and heard, said that it thundered, others said, An angel spoke to him. Joshua answered and said, This voice came not because of me, but for your sakes. Now is the judgment of this cosmos, now will the ruler of this cosmos be cast out. And I, if I be lifted up from the earth, will draw all to me. This he said, signifying what death he should die. The people answered him, We have heard out of the law that Messiah lives for the ages, so why do you say, The Son of Man must be lifted up? Who is this Son of Man? Then Joshua replied to them, Yet a little while is the light with you. Walk while you have the light, unless darkness comes upon you, for he that walks in darkness knows not where he goes. While you have the light, believe in the light, that you may be the children of light. These things Joshua spoke and then left, and did hide himself from them. But though he had done so many miracles before them, they still believed not on him, that the saying of Isaiah the prophet might be fulfilled, that he spoke, Lord, who has believed our report? And to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? Therefore they could not believe, because Isaiah said again, He has blinded their eyes and hardened their heart, that they should not see with their eyes, nor understand with their heart, and be converted, and I should heal them. These things said Isaiah, when he saw his glory, and spoke of him. Nevertheless among the chief rulers also many believed on him, but because of the Pharisees they did not confess him, unless they should be put out of the synagogue, because they loved the praise of men more than the praise of Elohim. Joshua cried and said, They that believe on me, believes not on me, but on him that sent me. And he that sees me sees him that sent me. I am come as light into the cosmos, that whoever believes on me should not remain in darkness. And if anyone hears my words and believes not, I judge them not, for I came not to judge the cosmos, but to save the cosmos. They that reject me, and receive not my words, has one that judges them. The word that I have spoken, the same will judge them in the last day. Because I have not spoken of myself, but the Father that sent me, he gave me a commandment, what I should say, and what I should speak. And I know that his commandment is life age-lasting, whatever I speak therefore, even as the Father said to me, so I speak. Now before the feast day of the Passover, when Joshua knew that his hour was come that he should depart out of this cosmos to the Father, having loved his own that were in the world, he dearly loved them to the end. And supper being ended, the false accuser having now put into the heart of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betray him, Joshua knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he was come from Elohim, and went to Elohim, he gets up from supper, and laid aside his garments, and took a towel, and girded himself. After that he poured water into a basin, and began to wash the disciples' feet, and to wipe them with the towel with which he was girded. Then he comes to Simon Peter, and Peter says to him, Lord, why do you wash my feet? Joshua answered and said to him, What I do you know not now, but you will know later. Peter replied to him, You will never wash my feet. Joshua answered him, If I do not wash you then you have no part with me. Simon Peter replied to him, Lord, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head. Joshua replied to him, They that are bathed needs not except to wash his feet, but is wholly clean, and you are clean, but not all. Because he knew who should betray him, therefore he said, You are not all clean. So after he had washed their feet, and had taken his garments, and was set down again, he said to them, Do you know what I have done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you say well, for so I am. If I then, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. Because I have given you an example, that you should do as I have done to you. Truly, truly, I say to you, the slave is not greater than his master, neither he that is sent greater than he that sent him. If you know these things, happy are you if you do them. I speak not of you all, I know who I have chosen, but that the scripture may be fulfilled, he that eats bread with me has lifted up his heel against me. Now I tell you before it comes, that when it has come to pass, you may believe that I am he. Truly, truly, I say to you, he that receives whoever I send receives me, and he that receives me receives him that sent me. When Joshua had said this, he was troubled in spirit, and testified saying, Truly, truly, I say to you, that one of you will betray me. Then the disciples looked one on another, doubting of who he spoke. Now there was leaning on Joshua's chest one of his disciples, whom Joshua dearly loved. Simon Peter therefore motioned to him, that he should ask who it should be of whom he spoke. He then lying on Joshua's chest said to him, Lord, who is it? Joshua answered, He it is, who I will give a sop, when I have dipped it. And when he had dipped the sop, he gave it to Judas Iscariot, the son of Simon. And after the sop Satan entered into him. Then Joshua said to him, What you do, do quickly. Now no man at the table knew for what intent he spoke this to him. Because some of them thought, because Judas had the bag, that Joshua had said to him, Buy those things that we have need of towards the feast day, or, that he should give something to the poor. He then having received the sop went immediately out, and it was night. Therefore, when he was gone out, Joshua said, Now is the Son of Man glorified, and Elohim is glorified in him. If Elohim is glorified in him, Elohim will also glorify him in himself, and will immediately glorify him. Little children, still a little while I am with you. You will seek me, and as I said to the Jews, where I go, you cannot come, so now I say to you. A new commandment I give to you, that you dearly love one another, as I have dearly loved you, that you also love one another. By this will all know that you are my disciples, if you have brotherly love one to another. Simon Peter said to him, Lord, where do you go? Joshua answered him, Where I go, you cannot follow me now, but you will follow me later. Peter said to him, Lord, why cannot I follow you now? I will lay down my life for your sake. Joshua answered him, Will you lay down your life for my sake? Truly, truly, I say to you, the rooster will not crow, until you have denied me 3 times. Let not your heart be troubled, you believe in Elohim, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many residences, if it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again, and receive you to myself, that where I am, there you may be also. And where I go you know, and the way you know. Thomas said to him, Lord, we know not where you go, so how can we know the way? Joshua replied to him, I am the way, the truth, and the life, no one comes to the Father, but by me. If you had known me, you should have known my Father too, and from now on you will know him, and have experienced him. Philip said to him, Lord, show us the Father, and it be enough for us. Joshua replied to him, Have I been so long a time with you, and still you have not known me, Philip? He that has seen me has seen the Father, so how come you say, Show us the Father? Believe you not that I am in the Father, and the Father in me? The words that I speak to you I speak not of myself, but the Father that lives in me, he does the works. Believe me that I am in the Father, and the Father in me, or else believe me for the very work's sake. Truly, truly, I say to you, he that believes on me, the works that I do will he do also, and greater works than these will he do, because I go to my Father. And whatever you will ask in my name, that will I do, that the Father may be glorified in the Son. If you will ask anything in my name, I will do it. If you dearly love me, observe my commandments. And I will pray the Father, and he will give you another advocate, that he may remain with you for the ages, even the Spirit of truth, which the cosmos cannot receive, because it sees him not, neither knows him, but you know him, because he lives with you, and will be in you. I will not leave you orphaned, I will come to you. Still for a little while, and the cosmos sees me no more, but you see me, that because I live, you will live also. At that day you will know that I am in my Father, and you in me, and I in you. He that has my commandments, and observes them, he it is that dearly loves me, and he that dearly loves me will be dearly loved of my Father, and I will love him, and will manifest myself to him. Judas said to him, not Iscariot, Lord, how is it that you will manifest yourself to us, and not to the cosmos? Joshua answered and said to him, If one dearly loves me, they will observe my words, and my Father will love them, and we will come to them, and make our dwelling with them. Those that love me not observe not my sayings, and the word that you hear is not mine, but the Father's that sent me. These things have I spoken to you, being still present with you. But the Advocate, that is the sacred Spirit, who the Father will send in my name, it will teach you all things and bring all things to your remembrance, whatever I have said to you. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you, not as the world gives, give I to you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. You have heard how I said to you, I go away, and come again to you. If you loved me, you would rejoice, because I said, I go to the Father, because my Father is greater than I. And now I have told you before it comes to pass, that, when it has come to pass, you might then believe. I will not talk with you much longer, because the ruler of this cosmos comes, and has nothing in me. But that the cosmos may know that I dearly love the Father, and as the Father gave me commandment, even so I do. Get up, let us be going. I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. Every branch in me that bears not fruit he takes away, and every branch that bears fruit, he cleanses it, so that it may bring forth more fruit. Now you are clean through the word that I have spoken to you. Remain in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it remains on the vine, no more can you, except you remain in me. I am the vine, you are the branches, he that remains in me, and I in him, the same brings forth much fruit, because without me you can do nothing. If one remains not in me, they are cast out as a branch, and are withered, and men gather them, and throw them into the fire, and they are burned. If you remain in me, and my words remain in you, you will ask what you will, and it will appear in history for you. With this my Father is glorified, that you bear much fruit, so will you be my disciples. As the Father has dearly loved me, so have I dearly loved you, continue you in my love. If you observe my commandments, you will remain in my love, even as I have observed my Father's commandments, and remain in his love. These things have I spoken to you, that my joy might remain in you, and that your joy might be full. This is my commandment, that you dearly love one another, as I have dearly loved you. Greater love has no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. You are my friends, if you do whatever I command you. No more do I call you slaves, because the slave knows not what his master does. But I have called you friends, because all things that I have heard from my Father I have made known to you. You have not chosen me, but I have chosen you and established you, that you should go and bring forth fruit, and that your fruit should remain, that whatever you will ask from the Father in my name, he may give it to you. These things I command you, that you dearly love one another. If the cosmos hates you, you know that it hated me before it hated you. If you were of the cosmos would love its own, but because you are not of the cosmos, but I have chosen you out of the cosmos, therefore the cosmos hates you. Remember the word that I said to you, the slave is not greater than their master. If they have persecuted me, they will also persecute you, if they have observed my saying, they will observe yours too. But all these things will they do to you for my name's sake, because they know not him that sent me. If I had not come and spoken to them, they had not had sin, but now they have no pretext for their sin. He that hates me hates my Father too. If I had not done among them the works that no other one did, they would not have sinned, but now have they both seen and hated both me and my Father. But this came to pass, that the word might be fulfilled that is written in their law, they hated me without a cause. But when the Advocate is come, which I will send to you from the Father, even the Spirit of truth, that proceeds from the Father, it will witness of me, and you also will bear witness, because you have been with me from the beginning. These things I have spoken to you so that you should not be made to stumble. They will put you out of the synagogues, yes, the time comes, that whoever kills you will think that he does Elohim service. And these things will they do to you, because they have not known the Father, nor me. But these things I have told you, that when the time will come, you may remember that I told you of them. And these things I said not to you at the beginning, because I was with you. But now I go my way to him that sent me, and none of you ask me, where do you go? But because I have said these things to you, sorrow has filled your heart. But I tell you the truth, it is expedient for you that I go away, because if I go not away, the Advocate will not come to you, but if I leave, I will send it to you. And when it appears, it will convict the cosmos of sin, and of righteousness, and of judgment, of sin, because they believe not on me, of righteousness, because I go to my Father, and you see me no more, of judgment, because the ruler of this cosmos is judged. I have still many things to say to you, but you cannot bear them now. But when it, the Spirit of truth, is come, it will guide you into all truth, because it will not emit of itself, but whatever it will hear, that will it emit, and it will show you things to come. It will glorify me because it will procure from me, and will announce to you. All things that the Father have are mine, therefore I said that it will procure from me, and will announce to you. A little while and you will not see me, and again, a little while, and you will see me, because I go to the Father. Then said some of his disciples among themselves, What is this that he says to us, a little while, and you will not see me, and again, a little while and you will see me, and, because I go to the Father. They said therefore, What is this that he says, a little while? We cannot tell what he is saying. Now Joshua knew that they were desirous to ask him, and said to them, Do you inquire among yourselves of what I said, a little while, and you will not see me, and again, a little while, and you will see me? Truly, truly, I say to you, that you will weep and mourn, but the cosmos will rejoice, and you will be sorrowful, but your sorrow will be turned into joy. A woman when she is giving birth has pain, because her hour has come, but as soon as she has delivered the child, she remembers no more the anguish, because joy that a human being is born into the world. And you now therefore have pain, but I will see you again, and your heart will rejoice, and your joy no man takes from you. And in that day you will ask me nothing. Truly, truly, I say to you, whatever you will ask the Father in my name, he will give it to you. Until now you did ask nothing in my name, ask, and you will receive, that your joy may be full. These things I have spoken to you in Proverbs, but the time comes when I will no more speak to you in Proverbs, but I will show you plainly of the Father. At that day you will ask in my name, and I say not to you, that I will question the Father for you, because the Father himself dearly loves you, because you have dearly loved me, and have believed that I came out from Elohim. I came out from the Father, and am come into the cosmos again, I leave the cosmos, and go to the Father. His disciples said to him, Lo, now you speak plainly, and speak not a proverb. Now are we sure that you know all things, and need not that anyone should ask you, by this we believe that you came out from Elohim. Joshua answered them, Do you now believe? Look, the hour comes, yes, is now come, that you will be scattered, everyone to his own, and will leave me alone, and still I am not alone, because the Father is with me. These things I have spoken to you, that in me you might have peace. In the cosmos you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer, I have overcome the cosmos. These words spoke Joshua, and lifted up his eyes to the cosmos and said, Father, the hour has come, glorify your Son, that your Son also may glorify you. As you have given him power over all flesh, that he should give age-lasting life to as many as you have given him. And this is life age-lasting, that they might know you the only true Elohim, and Joshua Messiah, whom you have sent. I have glorified you on the earth. I have finished the work that you gave me to do. And now, O Father, glorify you me with your own self with the glory that I had with you before the universe existed. I have made visible your name to the human beings that you gave to me out of the world, yours they were, and you gave them to me and they have observed your word. Now they have known that all things whatever you have given me are from you. Because I have given to them the words that you gave to me, and they have received them, and have known in reality that I came out from you, and they have believed that you did send me. I pray for them, I pray not for the cosmos, but for them that you have given to me, because they are yours. And all mine are yours, and yours are mine, and I am glorified in them. And now I am no more in the cosmos, but these are in the cosmos and I come to you. Most Holy Father, guard through your own name those who you have given to me so that they may be one, as we are. While I was with them in the cosmos, I guarded them in your name, those that you gave to me I have guarded, and none of them are lost, except the son of utter destruction, that the scripture might be fulfilled. And now I come to you, and these things I speak in the cosmos, that they might have my joy fulfilled in themselves. I have given them your word, and the cosmos has hated them, because they are not of the cosmos, even as I am not of the cosmos. I pray not that you should take them out of the cosmos, but that you should guard them from the bad. They are not of the cosmos, even as I am not of the cosmos. Consecrate them through your truth, your word is truth. As you have sent me into the cosmos, even so have I also sent them into the world. And for their sakes I consecrate myself, that they also might be consecrated through the truth. Neither pray I for these alone, but for them also that will believe on me through their word. That they all may be one as you, Father, are in me, and I in you, that they also may be one in us so that the cosmos may believe that you have sent me. And the glory that you gave me I have given to them, that they may be one, even as we are one. I in them, and you in me, that they may be made perfect in one, and that the cosmos may know that you have sent me, and have dearly loved them, as you have dearly loved me. Father, I will that they also, who you have given to me, be with me where I am, that they may behold my glory, that you have given to me, because you dearly loved me before the founding of the universe. O righteous Father, the cosmos has not known you, but I have known you, and these have known that you have sent me. And I have declared to them your name, and will declare it, that the love with which you have dearly loved me may be in them, and I in them. When Joshua had spoken these words, he went out with his disciples over to the brook Kidron, where there was a garden, into which he entered with his disciples. And Judas also, that betrayed him, knew the place because Joshua many times had gathered there with his disciples. Judas then, having received a band of men and officers from the chief priests and Pharisees, came there with lanterns, torches and weapons. Joshua therefore, knowing all things that should come upon him, went out and said to them, Whom do you seek? They answered him, Joshua of Nazareth. Joshua said to them, I am he. And Judas also, that betrayed him, stood with them. As soon then as he had said to them, I am he, they went backward, and fell to the ground. Then he asked them again, Who are you seeking? And they replied, Joshua of Nazareth. Joshua answered, I have told you that I am he, if therefore you are seeking me, let these go their way. That the saying might be fulfilled, that he spoke, Of them that you gave to me I have lost none. Then Simon Peter having a sword drew it, and struck the high priest's slave, and cut off his right ear. The slave's name was Malchus. Then said Joshua to Peter, Put up your sword into the sheath, the cup that my Father has given me, will I not drink of it? Then the band and the captain and officers of the Jews took Joshua, and bound him, and led him away to Annas first, for he was father-in-law to Caiaphas that was the high priest that same year. Now Caiaphas was he that gave counsel to the Jews that it was expedient that one man should die for the people. And Simon Peter followed Joshua, and so did another disciple, that disciple was known to the high priest, and went in with Joshua into the courtyard of the high priest. But Peter stood at the door outside. Then went out that other disciple that was known to the high priest, and spoke to her that was the doorkeeper, and brought in Peter. Then said the female slave who was the doorkeeper to Peter, Are not you also one of this man's disciples? He replied, I am not. And the slaves and officers stood there, who had made a fire of coals, for it was cold, and they warmed themselves, and Peter stood with them, and warmed himself. The high priest then asked Joshua of his disciples, and of his doctrine. Joshua answered him, I spoke openly to the world, I did always teach in the synagogue and in the temple, where the Jews always gather, and in secret I have said nothing. Why do you ask me? Ask them that heard me what I have said to them, look, they know what I said. And when he had thus spoken, one of the officers that stood by struck Joshua with the palm of his hand saying, Answer you the high priest so? Joshua answered him, If I have spoken bad, bear witness of the bad, but if well, why do you strike me? Now Annas had sent him bound to Caiaphas the high priest. And Simon Peter stood and warmed himself. They said therefore to him, Are you not also one of his disciples? He denied it and said, I am not. One of the slaves of the high priest, being his kinsman whose ear Peter cut off, said, Did I not see you in the garden with him? Peter then denied again, and immediately the rooster crowed. Then they led Joshua from Caiaphas to the hall of judgment, and it was early, and they themselves went not into the judgment hall, unless they should be defiled, but that they might eat the Passover. Pilate then went out to them and said, What accusation bring you against this man? They answered and said to him, If he were not a malefactor, we would not have delivered him up to you. Then Pilate replied to them, You take him, and judge him according to your law. The Jews therefore said to him, It is not lawful for us to put anyone to death, that the saying of Joshua might be fulfilled, that he spoke, signifying what death he should die. Then Pilate entered into the judgment hall again, and called Joshua and said to him, Are you the king of the Jews? Joshua answered him, From yourself do you say this? Or did others say this to you about me? Pilate answered, Am I a Jew? Your own nation and the chief priests have delivered you to me, what have you done? Joshua answered, My kingdom is not of this world, if my kingdom were of this world, then would my slaves fight, that I should not be delivered to the Jews, but now is my kingdom not from here. Pilate therefore said to him, Are you a king then? Joshua answered, You say that I am a king. To this end was I born, and for this cause came I into the cosmos, that I should bear witness to the truth. Everyone that is of the truth hears my voice. Pilate replied to him, What is truth? And when he had said this, he went out again to the Jews, and said to them, I find in him no fault at all. But you have a custom, that I should release to you one at the Passover, will you therefore that I release to you the King of the Jews? Then they all cried again saying, Not this man, but Barabbas. Now Barabbas was a robber. Then Pilate therefore took Joshua, and scourged him. And the soldiers platted a crown of thorns, and put it on his head, and they put on him a purple robe, and said, Hail, King of the Jews! And they hit him with their hands. Pilate therefore went out again, and said to them, Look, I bring him out to you, that you may know that I find no fault in him. Then Joshua came out, wearing the crown of thorns, and the purple robe. And Pilate said to them, See the man. When the chief priests therefore and officers saw him, they cried out, saying, Crucify him! Crucify him! Pilate replied to them, You take him, and crucify him, because I find no fault in him. The Jews answered him, We have a law, and by our law he ought to die, because he made himself the son of Elohim. When Pilate therefore heard that saying, he was the more afraid, and went again into the judgment hall, and said to Joshua, Who are you? But Joshua gave him no answer. Then Pilate said to him, You will not speak to me? Do you not know that I have power to crucify you, and have power to release you? Joshua answered, You could have no power at all against me, except it were given to you from above. Because of this, he who is delivering me up to you has greater sin. And from that point on Pilate sought to release him, but the Jews cried out saying, If you let this man go, you are not Caesar's friend, whoever makes himself a king speaks against Caesar. When Pilate therefore heard that saying, he brought Joshua out, and sat down in the judgment seat in a place that is called the pavement, but in the Hebrew, Gabbatha. And it was the preparation of the Passover, and about the 6th hour, and he said to the Jews, See your king. But they cried out, Away with him, crucify him. Pilate replied to them, Will I crucify your king? The chief priests answered, We have no king but Caesar. Then he delivered him therefore to them to be crucified. And they took Joshua, and led him away. And he bearing his stake went out into a place, called the place of a skull, that is called in the Hebrew Golgotha, where they crucified him, and 2 others with him, one on either side of him, and Joshua in the middle. Then Pilate wrote a title, and put it on the stake. And the writing was, Joshua of Nazareth the King of the Jews. This title then read many of the Jews, because the place where Joshua was crucified was near to the city, and it was written in Hebrew, Greek, and Latin. Then the chief priests of the Jews said to Pilate, Write not, the King of the Jews, but that he said, I am King of the Jews. Pilate answered, What I have written I have written. The soldiers therefore, when they did crucify Joshua, took his garments, and made 4 parts, to each soldier a part, also the coat, and the coat was seamless, from the top woven throughout. They said therefore among themselves, Let us not tear it, but cast lots for it, whose it will be, that the scripture might be fulfilled that said, They parted my garment among them, and for my clothing they did cast lots. These things therefore the soldiers did. Now there stood by the stake of Joshua his mother, and his mother's sister, Mary the woman of Cleophas, and Mary Magdalene. When Joshua therefore saw his mother, and the disciple standing by, whom he dearly loved, he said to his mother, Woman, see your son. Then he said to the disciple, See your mother. And from that hour that disciple took her to his own home. After this, Joshua knowing that all things were now accomplished, that the scripture might be fulfilled said, I thirst. Now there was set a vessel full of vinegar, and they filled a sponge with vinegar, and put it on a branch of hyssop, and put it to his mouth. When Joshua therefore had received the vinegar, he said, It is finished, and he bowed his head, and breathed his last breath. The Jews therefore, because it was the preparation, that the bodies should not remain upon the stake on the Sabbath day, for that Sabbath day was a high day, requested from Pilate that their legs might be broken, and that they might be taken away. Then the soldiers came, and broke the legs of the first, and the other that was crucified with him. But when they came to Joshua, who was in the middle, and saw that he was already dead, they did not break his legs. But one of the soldiers with a spear pierced his side, and immediately there came out blood and water. And he that saw it affirmed as a witness, and his record is true, and he knows that he speaks the truth, so that you might believe. Because these things were done, that the scripture should be fulfilled, a bone of him will not be broken. And again another scripture declares, they will look on him who they pierced. And after this Joseph of Arimathea, being a disciple of Joshua, but secretly for fear of the Jews, requested from Pilate that he might take away the body of Joshua, and Pilate gave him permission. He then came and took the body of Joshua. And there came also Nicodemus, that at the first came to Joshua by night, and brought a mixture of myrrh and aloes, about 75 pounds weight. Then they took the body of Joshua, and wound it in linen clothes with the spices, as the manner of the Jews is to bury. Now in the place where he was crucified there was a garden, and in the garden a new tomb, in which no one had ever been laid. There they laid Joshua because of the Jews' preparation day, because the tomb was near at hand. The first day of the week Mary Magdalene came early, when it was still dark, to the tomb, and saw the stone taken away from the tomb. Then she ran, and came to Simon Peter, and to the other disciple, who Joshua dearly loved, and said to them, They have taken away the Lord out of the tomb, and we do not know where they have laid him. Peter therefore went out, and that other disciple, and came to the tomb. So they both ran together, and the other disciple did outrun Peter, and came first to the tomb. And he stooping down, and looking in, saw the linen clothes lying, yet he went not in. Then came Simon Peter following him, and went into the tomb, and saw the linen clothes lying there. And the napkin, that was around his head, not lying with the linen clothes, but wrapped together in a place by itself. Then went in also that other disciple, that came first to the tomb, and he saw, and believed. Because as yet they knew not the scripture, that he must rise again from the dead. Then the disciples went away again to their own home. But Mary stood outside at the tomb weeping, and as she wept, she stooped down, and looked into the tomb. And saw two angels in white sitting, the one at the head, and the other at the feet, where the body of Joshua had lain. And they spoke to her, Woman, why do you weep? She replied to them, Because they have taken away my Lord, and I know not where they have laid him. And when she had said this, she turned herself back, and saw Joshua standing, but recognized not that it was Joshua. Joshua spoke to her, Woman, why do you weep? Who are you seeking? She, supposing him to be the gardener, replied to him, Sir, and if you have carried him from here, tell me where you have laid him, and I will take him away. Joshua spoke to her, Mary. She turned herself and said to him, Prince, that is to say, Teacher. Joshua said to her, Touch me not, because I am not yet ascended to my Father, but go to my brethren, and say to them, I ascend to my Father, and your Father, and to my Elohim, and your Elohim. Mary Magdalene came and told the disciples that she had seen the Lord, and that he had spoken these things to her. Then the same day at sunset, being the first day of the week, when the doors were shut where the disciples were assembled for fear of the Jews, Joshua came and stood in the middle, and spoke to them, Peace be to you. And when he had so said, he showed to them his hands and his side. Then the disciples were exceedingly glad, when they saw the Lord. Then Joshua said to them again, Peace be to you, as my Father has sent me, even so I send you. And when he had said this, he breathed on them, and declared to them, Lay hold of the sacred Spirit. If of any, you may loose the sins, they are loosed to them, if of any you may retain, they have been retained. But Thomas, one of the 12, called Didymus, was not with them when Joshua came. The other disciples therefore said to him, We have seen the Lord. But he said to them, Except I will see in his hands the print of the nails, and put my finger into the print of the nails, and thrust my hand into his side, I will not believe. And after 8 days again his disciples were within, and Thomas with them. Then Joshua came, the doors being shut, and stood in the middle and said, Peace be to you. Then he said to Thomas, Reach here your finger, and see my hands, and reach here your hand, and thrust it into my side, and be not faithless, but believing. And Thomas answered and said to him, My Lord and my Elohim. Joshua said to him, Thomas, because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are they that have not seen, and still have believed. And many other signs truly did Joshua in the presence of his disciples, that are not written in this scroll. But these are written, that you might believe that Joshua is the Messiah, the Son of Elohim, and that believing you might have life through his name. After these things Joshua made himself visible again to the disciples on the Sea of Tiberias, and he did manifest himself this way. There were together Simon Peter, and Thomas called Didymus, and Nathanael of Cana in Galilee, and the sons of Zebedee, and 2 other of his disciples. Simon Peter said to them, I am going fishing. They replied to him, We also will go with you. They went out, and entered into a ship immediately, and that night they caught nothing. Now when sunrise came, Joshua stood on the shore, but the disciples did not know that it was Joshua. Then Joshua said to them, Children, have you any food? They answered him, No. And he replied to them, Cast the net on the right side of the ship, and you will find. They cast it therefore, and now they were not able to draw it because of the multitude of fish. Therefore that disciple whom Joshua dearly loved said to Peter, It is the Lord. Now when Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, he put on his fisher's coat over him, because he was naked, and then cast himself into the sea. And the other disciples came in a small boat, because they were not far from land, but as it were about 300 feet, dragging the net with fish. As soon then as they were come to land, they saw a fire of coals there, and fish laid on it, and bread. Joshua said to them, Bring of the fish that you have now caught. Simon Peter went up, and drew the net to land, full of large catch of fish, numbering 153, and even though there were so many, still was the net not broken. Joshua said to them, Come and have breakfast. And none of the disciples did ask him, Who are you? Knowing that it was the Lord. Joshua then came and took the bread and gave to them, and the fish too. This is now the 3rd time that Joshua showed himself to his disciples, after he was resurrected from the dead. So when they had eaten breakfast, Joshua spoke to Simon Peter, Simon, son of Jonas, do you love me more than these? He replied to him, Yes, Lord, you know that I dearly love you. He replied to him, Feed my lambs. He spoke to him again a 2nd time, Simon, son of Jonas, do you love me? He replied to him, Yes, Lord, you know that I dearly love you. He replied to him, Feed my sheep. He spoke to him the 3rd time, Simon, son of Jonas, do you love me? Peter was grieved because he said to him the 3rd time, Do you love me? And he replied to him, Lord, you know all things, you know that I dearly love you. Joshua repeated to him again, Feed my sheep. Truly, truly, I say to you, when you were young, you girded yourself, and walked wherever you would, but when you will be old, you will stretch out your hands, and another will gird you, and carry you where you would not. This he spoke, signifying by what death he should glorify Elohim. And when he had spoken this, he said to him, Follow me. Then Peter, turning around, saw the disciple whom Joshua dearly loved following, that also leaned on his chest at supper and said, Lord, who is he that betrays you? Peter seeing him said to Joshua, Lord, and what will this man do? Joshua replied to him, If I will that he stays until I come, what is that to you? You follow me. Then went this saying abroad among the brethren that that disciple should not die, yet Joshua did not say to him, He will not die, but only, If I will that he stays until I come, what is that to you? This is the disciple that is a witness of these things, and wrote these things, and we know that his testimony is true. And there are also many other things, as much as Joshua did, which, if they may be written one by one, not even the world itself I think would have a place for the scrolls written. Amen.